The movie, based on real events, begins with our main character B being rushed to the hospital after falling into a coma. While in the hospital, B's chaotic family visits her. Still comatose, B decides to recount her story from the beginning to explain how she ended up in the hospital. B's parents, Sharon and Derek, both have intellectual disabilities. Derek's mental growth was stunted at age 12 due to a drunk driving accident, while Sharon's brain didn't fully develop. Despite these challenges, Sharon and Derek fell in love at first sight and eventually got married. Although their parents were initially uncertain about their union, they reluctantly approved it. Derek's mother, Loretta, insisted that Sharon should get sterilized, fearing that the couple wouldn't be able to raise a child. Sharon's mother, Peg, opposed the idea, but her husband Earl, Sharon's father, didn't want to take care of another child. They had been caring for their intellectually disabled daughter like a child for 21 years. They decided not to take any steps for now, assuming the newlyweds weren't interested in starting a family. Shortly after their marriage, B was born, adding more pressure on Sharon's parents, who were already providing a home for the couple. B was named after her mother's favorite cartoon character, Bambi. Initially, Sharon's parents, Peg and Earl, helped take care of young B. As time passes by, Earl becomes tired of becoming the only breadwinner of the family, so he suggests Derek move out with his family. Peg wants Sharon and Derek to stay with them, as she doesn't trust them to take care of the baby or themselves. But Derek decides that they must move out and live as a family, which they do. Soon after, Derek and Sharon move to Nevada and initially live in a van before eventually buying a house. Fast forwarding to the present, a social worker named Mary arrives at the hospital to investigate the circumstances, leading to B's coma. She engages in conversations with B's family members, continuing with the flashback. B's childhood was initially filled with joy and fun, as Sharon and Derek worked hard to provide for her. However, when B turned 10, her parents began to place more responsibilities on her. Even Derek went so far as to teach her how to drive at a very young age, just in case he was unable to do so. In exchange for learning this skill, he promised to be anything she wanted, which eventually led her to get a dog she named Godzilla. According to B, they enjoyed a happy life in a trailer park initially, and later in their new home. Nevertheless, from a very young age, B had to shoulder more than her fair share of responsibilities. This included taking care of the dog, looking after herself, and even caring for her mother. During one of the driving lessons, B mentions to her father how her classmates were calling them retarded. Derek is understandably sad at his daughter having to face that and the unjust judgment of the world towards them, but he assures her that they are just special. One day, Sharon accidentally leaves the door open, and Godzilla, their dog, escapes. B, determined to retrieve her beloved pet, decides to use her dad's truck to chase after him. As expected, the 10-year-old crashes the truck, and this incident prompts a visit from Child Services. This is the first time she meets Mary, the social worker. B expresses her inability to take care of Godzilla and her parents simultaneously. Following the incident, B's aunt and uncle, Joy and Ben, consider that it might benefit B to spend some time with them. B ends up spending the summer at their house, which is a new experience for her as she's not accustomed to someone else caring for her. When she nearly has an accident in the swimming pool, her uncle realizes that B needs more parental guidance and support. Joy and Ben decide to take on a more active role in B's upbringing, particularly focusing on her education. As a result, B starts attending a private school where she becomes best friends with Nia. She excels in her studies and even joins the track team for extracurricular activities. However, she continues to face bullying, particularly from Astrid, the popular girl at school. One day during lunch, B is approached by a handsome boy named Ethan. He noticed her struggling in biology class and offers her his notes. After Ethan leaves, Nia suggests that Ethan might have a crush on B. She also reveals that Ethan is a cancer survivor and comes from a wealthy family. Eventually, B starts dating Ethan after connecting with him at a party. She continues to ace at school, but she's constantly having to worry about her parents and whether they can take care of themselves. As B reaches her senior year, her guidance counselor, Mr. Vasquez, persistently encourages her to apply to college. According to him, she has the necessary grades and extracurricular achievements to attend college, but initially, she only submits applications to a couple of community colleges under pressure. Still, Mr. Vasquez asks what she is most interested in. B tells him that she loves astronomy. Without wasting any time, he tells her that she should look into the UCLA's astronomy program, which best suits her interest. Later, after finding an old hat her uncle gave her, B realizes she wants to attend UCLA and decides to initiate the college application. As B starts spending more time with Ethan and agrees to go to prom, it puts a strain on her friendship with Nia. But dating Ethan, who accepts her wholeheartedly, does make her realize that she need not listen to others who have not walked in her shoes. During one of her part-time cleaning duties at school, Astrid, like always, speaks very lowly of B, But our heroine finally slams the bully when she puts Astrid in her place for her condescending, classist remarks. As prom approaches, B finds herself spending most of her time outside of school, working to support her family and save up for a prom dress. After saving enough money, she goes dress shopping with Nia, but their outing takes a sour turn when they argue, leading Nia to storm off. Meanwhile, Sharon goes to the grocery store alone, where she's convinced by some kids to buy them beer. Unfortunately, Sharon ends up getting arrested, and Derek gets into trouble when he confronts the police about his wife's arrest. While trying on her prom dress, B receives a call from the police station informing her of her parents' arrest. She's forced to bail them out using the money she saved. Upon returning home, V is furious with her parents for what she sees as misusing her savings. Tensions escalate when she learns that her father lost his job and prevented her mother from receiving disability checks, believing that Sharon isn't disabled, but rather special. B is frustrated and finally breaks down. She reminds her father that her mom is retarded, and special is just a word people address her to make them feel less guilty about her condition. Derek ends up losing his patience and slaps B, who has pretty much built up resentment for her parents. As a result, the following day at school, B confides in Mr. Vasquez that she has decided not to attend a fancy college because she believes her parents cannot survive without her. After this conversation, she takes Ethan home and decides to skip classes. B shares her concerns with him, explaining that she feels responsible for taking care of her parents. Ethan notes that her parents managed to just fine when she was a baby, and they would likely be fine if she went to college. He believes she's using them as a crutch to avoid facing the real world. V disagrees and even mentions that she might need to take care of him if his cancer were to return. Understandably, Ethan takes offense to this and breaks up with her. Despite her emotional turmoil, B manages to reconcile with her best friend. She goes to Nia's place and makes amends. B suggests they hang out together, but Nia now has a date to the prom, so B encourages her not to hold herself back. Just because B has canceled prom because Ethan broke up with her, V then helps Nia get ready for prom and then returns home. To cope with the challenges in her life, B decides to take control of what she can by selling tickets for the school's raffle, with hopes of winning a trip to Las Vegas so she can visit Disneyland. Feeling extremely lonely, she ends up drinking a bottle of whiskey before going out to sell the tickets. In her inebriated state, she goes out to sell the tickets, and Andy, a schoolmate's college-age brother, offers her a ride. She accepts, but things take a dark turn when Andy sexually assaults her. V becomes uncomfortable and wants to leave the car, but Ding-in, Andy's friend who is driving the van, has no issue with Andy's actions. He only stops when B attempts to jump out of the moving vehicle. Afterward, B tries to walk away, but Andy follows her and pleads with her to return to the car. He starts pulling her arm, and B throws up before slipping and falling, hitting her head on the ground. Seeing her unconscious, the boys panic and drop her off outside the hospital before rushing away. B eventually regains consciousness and expresses her love for her parents and the rest of her family. Later that night, Ethan visits B and apologizes, and they reconcile. B is eventually discharged from the hospital and slowly recovers during her final year of high school. Despite facing challenges and juggling responsibilities, B manages to graduate from high school alongside her best friend Nia. Initially hesitant to apply to college due to her family obligations, B has a heart-to-heart conversation with her father Derek, who reassures her and encourages her to pursue her dreams. This conversation gives B the courage to apply to her desired college, and she successfully gains admission. Even her grandparents, who had previously struggled with accepting their children's disabilities, join in celebrating B's achievements. On graduation day, her entire family comes together to support her.